up top, and was there any danger of messing with the formula that had brought you guys so much success in recent weeks?
Well, number one, Nelson deserved it because of his work throughout the season. I felt that he was on a high after he scored the winning goal against Kansas City. And to be honest, we lost a couple players against San Jose. So it was a kind of just a thought process that the staff had about how do we set up the team. And so what we did, what I felt we did, or what we wanted to do was, put Nelson in his natural position, because at times we've had Nelson out here or out here, and then just push Jordy just underneath but a little higher to make sure that he was able to still get in behind. And then that allowed us to, get Ozzie and Roldan back together. So it was a team concept, just about getting the 11 best players on the field and then trying to get them in spots where they could be effective.
Blair.
Brian, that flurry of goals, 3 of 8, what was that like to experience, and what do you think led to that?
Well, it was great. I mean, the fans loved it. I think the fans deserve that. I mean, they've supported us all year long through thick and thin. It's certainly, if I'm looking at it again from a truly soccer perspective, I think the goals were pretty good. I mean, Nelson up, Jovan's ball across, the counterattacking, the speed, the quality. I mean, I thought they were 3 pretty quality goals.
Todd?
Brian, can we largely assume that this might be the same starting lineup you see a week from now in Dallas?
I don't know. We'll have to get everybody, back healthy and make adjustments if we need to. And, there's some pretty tired guys in there. That was 3 games in 8 days. They're pretty beat up and pretty tired. So we'll watch film. We'll get the trainers to get their jobs done and get the players healthy, and then we'll come up with a plan for next Sunday.
Maz?
Hey, Brian, going back to that 3-goal flurry, did something change, or was that an accumulation of what happened in the first half, and that just was the fruition of the first half leading up to that?
Well, I think the quality, again, I'm speaking about the quality of the goals. So in the first half, typical first round game of a 2-leg series, teams feeling each other out a little bit. They had switched to, 5 at the back. You call it a 3-5-2, however you want to, call their lineup. 2 teams feeling each other out, okay? So in the second half, our team made the necessary adjustments, but then they also made the necessary plays. We're talking about making plays. So when you're trying to win a MLS Cup, you have to make plays. And, Valdez, Ladero, Morris, Jones, they made plays. And then you follow that up, because we're always talking about the goals, but then you follow that up by, Zach Scott coming on and making plays, Chad Marshall, another huge game, and Steph, Tyrone, some of the guys that don't get enough credit. They made plays at their end as well.
Jackson?
Coach, you mentioned Jones there. He had a pretty big hand in all 3 goals. Can you talk a little bit about his passing and his game as a whole?
Well, that's what we expect of him. That's his job. He's a really talented kid. He has a ton of talent. And I think you saw, a good performance by him tonight, not just because of the 2 assists, but, all around. He's really good 1v1 defending. And, Dallas has some fast attacking players. So a good all-around performance by Jovan.
John?
Coach, what was the rationale for taking out Valdez and Ozzie? Was it fatigue?
Well, they were tactical subs. Look, Nelson hasn't played 90 minutes all year long, so, a little bit tired, maybe feeling a little bit under the weather. So we take him off. Ozzie, I didn't want him to get a second yellow. We need him for the next game. So just tactical reasons.
Ryan?
Coach, the big storyline tonight is going to be those 3 goals in 8 minutes, but how would you describe the play of your defense tonight, especially Rowan Torres out, Zach Scott stepping in and holding the supporter shield, winners scoreless on the road?
Well, it's the next man forward. We've talked about it. We've talked about it. We've talked about it. This team, the guys in that locker room, work hard every day. And it's next man steps up. They understand the roles of in our 4-2-3-1, everybody understands the roles of the positions. So they might, interpret their role a little differently because they're different personalities. Okay, Zach's a little different than Roman. But the fact of the matter is Zach knows what it's expected of him, and he does his job. And when we bring Herc on, he knows what he's supposed to do. When we bring Fish on, he knows what he's supposed to do at left back. So I think it's, again, just testament to that team that the next guy can step up, and they get it.
Michelle?
Obviously, your team physically did what they were supposed to do these last 8 days, winning 3 games. But how do you think their emotional and kind of mental toughness held up with the roller coaster that was this last little stretch?
I would say, Michelle, that it's determined, because we all understand, and we talked about it after the Sporting KC game, about trying to play better soccer. And how do we play better soccer? Because it's always in the details. I can say, okay, you guys need to keep the ball more, but how do you keep the ball? Where do you keep the ball? Why do you keep the ball? And some of those things they answered tonight. So I was extremely pleased by the way they were able to interpret the game tonight and take what the game gave them. And that's what made us all on it as a coaching staff. That's what made us proud, because they actually were able to incorporate some of the ideas and get a breakthrough win like tonight.
Harvey?
Coach, the 3 goals in the 8 minutes, can you recall in games you've coached a run similar to that in your time as a head coach?
No, I'd have to look at the stats. I'd have to Google search that. I mean, I no. I mean, I'm sure Dempsey, over the years, we might have had some flurries like that, but right now I'm just thinking about tonight's 8 minutes.
Jillian?
Coach, in those 8 minutes, obviously it gave you guys a chance to head to Dallas now with them commanding 3-0, up 3-0. How important was that before you headed to Dallas territory?
Well, it's important for a lot of different reasons. There's 3 very obvious reasons, but the fact of the matter is the talk after the game was, we're not done, that we're not finished. That message will be repeated throughout the week, because Dallas is a very dangerous team. We're not taking anything for granted, and we will make sure that we work smart, work hard when we need to this week to make sure we prepare, because we understand what's going to happen. I mean, Oscar's a very good coach. Dallas is a very good team, and they will be ready for us. So that just actually doubles down our efforts to make sure we come in with a very good game plan, that Dave and Chris and his staff make sure that the players are feeling good physically, and that we go down there with the right mindset. Because if we come down there saying we've already won, then that will be a big mistake, and we won't allow that to happen.
Steven?
Coach, that's your first multi-goal lead in any aggregate series in the MLS era. Was it something you talked about before the game, or a big part of the game plan to not just be satisfied with one tonight?
Well, I talked with one of my owners earlier about, after we scored the first, could we go out and score another? I think the game just, again, manifested itself in a way that we were able to score 3 goals. Our goal here is to win games. How we win, why we win, the scoreline, all of those things is up to them. I mean, we don't talk about that before the game. We can't, forecast the score. But what we want to try and do is we want to try play good soccer. We want to try and win games. And it just so happens that tonight we were able to execute in, 3 very good goals.
In an aggregate goal series, how important, you get the 3 goals, you got the lead. Normal game, you might coast a little bit, but in a series, not giving up anything down the stretch
Was key. Absolutely. Had they scored a goal, might have given them a little bit of life. So it was absolutely key that the defense, held a clean sheet. again, testament to Steph and all the back four. You know, I haven't mentioned Christian again. He had a strong performance tonight, sitting next to Ozzy. I think that was key for us, keeping them off the board. So a good overall team performance was needed tonight, for sure.
Nico?
You had Brad Evans, Antonio Alfaro as other options. What went on to putting Scott in that back line? And is Torres' injury lingered maybe longer than
Well, I'll talk about Zach, I'll talk about Tony, I'll talk about Brad. They're all three very capable players. So Zach came on and did his job. If I asked Tony to step on the field, he would do his job. If I pushed Brad anywhere, he would do his job. Again, it's just team first. And it's, you know, choices that, you know, when you have good young players that are pushing the senior players, that in my mind is a good thing. So if Tony is pushing Zach to be considered, good. I love it. We love it. As a club, we love that.
Time for a few follow-ups. Larry, still have one?
Yeah, kind of following up on the previous question, you've been around with the Sounders for a long time. Do you remember a better night, a more dominant night than this one in the fourth game?
Larry, yeah, I mean, you guys, I'd probably have to look through the history books, but look, this club has had some good performances in big games. You know, we'll start back from 2002 in the USL when I was coaching. We had some good performances back then throughout the years. 09, Ziggy, up until now, we've had good performances. Again, it just is, the club has always been a good club. We've always tried to go out and win games. We've always tried to win trophies. And I think that culture, that team mentality has always been here throughout the years. I think that would be the consistency that we've had over the years.
Ari?
What did you make of Jordan in that wide role tonight? He didn't score a goal, but he impacted the game in a lot of other ways.
Well, he's a smart kid, went to Stanford. He understood the tactical responsibilities that we gave him tonight, and he executed them very well. I was very happy to see him going at guys, picking up balls. You know, that's a spot where Dempsey, if he was still here, you know, he plays in that left wing channel, picks up balls. I thought he was very, very good. He was tactically very sound.
Matt?
Which owner did you have that pregame conversation with, and what was your answer to the idea of whether you guys could add to your lead tonight?
Well, all of them were in the room. I won't say who asked the question, but the answer is that we will always, Matt, take what the game gives us. We will always try and win games. We will always, you know, make sure that we don't sit back and, you know, there's been a couple games recently where teams have pinned us back, but that's not by our design, okay? We've always wanted to come and push forward. Unfortunately, that's just the sport. It's soccer. Sometimes teams have good game plans against us. So, you know, tonight it just happened to work in our favor.
Ryan?
Coach, all four lower seeds won today, and not a single higher seed scored away from home. Do you find it to be an advantage playing at home first? Or would you rather it be the other way around?
Well, I don't know what history has statistically with this type of format. So I know we've had success both ways. Certainly against Dallas, you could say that, you know, the last 2 years, you know, it's worked out for the home team in that last leg. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, I didn't mind the fact that, you know, we could stay at home this whole week. I think that play-in game was a massive difference. Had we had to travel to Kansas City, that could have impacted this game.
Toby?
Coach, is there any sort of validation of the fact that you lose to Dallas a couple weeks ago and you get this result? And not only that, but also a year ago you go out of the playoffs and a really tense match against the same team. With a result like this, is there any extra success, extra kind of happiness that goes along with it, considering the opposing team?
Well, the job's not done. So you can ask me that question after next Sunday. They are a good team, and it's been a great rivalry. Again, I got a lot of respect for Oscar and what he's done there in Dallas. They have a very good franchise. Supporter Shield winners and Open Cup winners. And so it's a hard-fought, well-played-out series. The game last week in Dallas was, again, a hard-fought, decent game. So there's no added motivation other than the motivation to reward the guys for all their hard work. That's where it comes from. We don't say, okay, we want to beat them because it's Dallas. We want to beat teams because that group in there deserves to be rewarded for the work they've done all year.